All right, everybody. Welcome out to podcast number 312. Are you teaching people to be curious about lean? Do you feel intimidated or overwhelmed by lean? Stay with us. We'll talk about that today.
This is the Elevate Construction Podcast, delivering remarkable content for workers, leaders, and companies in construction wanting to take their next step. Get ready to step out of your comfort zone with Jason Schroeder as he encourages you to do better, live a remarkable life, and expect more. Let's go.
Welcome, everybody. So Joe Donarumo and I are together, and we're going to do a podcast. Joe, you might say hi to everybody.
Hey, everyone.
So interesting little story. So Joe is in like a 5-star recording studio. Where are you at again, Joe?
So I am in a recording studio that actually my co-author, Keon Zandy, had created, and thought it would be good to give this a shot. Hopefully, we're going to be looking at some potential new content coming out, so we're giving this a shot. So this was kind of my first little beta test run with it today. So we'll see how it works.
That's awesome. And I've one up Joe a little bit. I'm in a Starbucks. I'm just kidding, but I am at a Starbucks. So this is we're right here. I came to California to finish writing the second edition of the Elevating Construction Takt planning, and went to the grandparents' house. And Joe and I have rescheduled this a couple of times, and I was like, I am not missing it. The internet is garbage where I am. I'm going to Starbucks. So if you hear any background noise, forgive us. I know the content will be top notch. So Joe, would you mind? I love it when guests do an introduction.
Yeah, sure.
So go ahead.
So my name is Joe Donarumo. I am a senior superintendent and a director of lean application for Lindbeck Group. Lindbeck Group is based out of Houston, Texas. We have offices in Fort Worth and Austin. And primarily our market sectors are healthcare and cultural and higher education. And I've had a really unique journey and unique blessing of actually just serving one client for my entire time at Lindbeck, which has been really awesome. So I serve Cook Children's Medical Center in Fort Worth, Texas, and their surrounding markets that they serve. And it's been quite an amazing blessing to be with a partner like Cook's, who has a thirst for continuous improvement, who has a passion to fix what bugs them. We're currently on our 6th IPD delivery, as well as we leverage an IPD structure for the capital delivery or the delivery of capital projects. So it's been a unique experience, and one that I've been grateful, and one that has really cultivated and grown my awareness and kind of my journey through lean. So it's been awesome.
That's awesome. And I know everyone already knows you're co-author of The Lean Builder. You have an amazing website, an amazing blog. You're doing great things. Usually, if I go around and I'm working with a client, Joe and Keon has already been there. And so we support, you're the first line of defense in lean construction. So I'm really impressed. And you've been a really big advocate of support, and I appreciate your influence on the industry.
No,
go ahead.
Absolutely.
Well, the reason it's important is because there's a group of us that have the same vision, bring respect back to the trades, make their field in construction, an inviting career path, right? Take care of owners, preserve families, do the right thing for people. And I love that. So thank you for being on. So we'll go right through here. Our podcast today is about being curious. And we did a welcome here. What we'll ask here in just a second is, Joe, what are you excited about? What gets you amped up? What's like lighting your fire right now? And then we'll get right into it, and we'll ask the question, what is your advice for being curious? So let's get started with, what are you excited about in life right now? What's lighting your fire?
In this current season right now, through work, we have some within Lindbeck, we got some new work going. We got some big work going. So it's always exciting to, especially from coming out of 2020 and the pause, it's great to actually be flying some big wall forms and making some big concrete pours. It feels good again to be putting work in place, and that tangible reward of you walk away from the job and you see something tangibly built that day. It is so rewarding. What has me fired up is it's the summertime for us. Our children made it through the school year. We had a great year managing kind of the outfalling of 2020 and getting all that done. So we got a big summer planned. I'm fired up about. Then I have 4 children, so I got 3 boys and a baby girl. So I am fired up about some great vacations this summer and spending some quality time, lots of golfing and fishing with the boys. So right now, that's the excitement in my life, is planning out those events and making sure that taking full advantage of the summer, making sure I'm pouring into my relationship at home and bringing it 110% as I try to strive for every day in the workplace as well.
I love that. So I have to ask you this question. And the thought that came to my mind is, Paul Akers has a book called Lean Travel and Lean Life, right? I was think, and a lot of us, we do weekly work planning, like in our personal organization systems. When you're on vacations, you plan them out, or you kind of like, oh, I'm kind of off the hook. We'll kind of go.
It's a little bit of both. So they'll, like, typically on a vacation for me, there's a couple of things that I really want to do. So I'll be intentional in making sure that those are calendared and scheduled and communicated, with my wife and maybe the rest of our family who's going. But other than those events, I actually like just to kind of disconnect, turn it off. I'm not the type of vacation taker who wants the agenda every day. And at, from 8 to 10, we're doing this. And from 10 to 11:30, we're going on to this. I get recharged by just being able to let the day come to us and the experiences come to us and taking advantage of that.
That's awesome. The reason I asked is because I find that these principles are pretty universal. I'm sure you do the same thing, but when I teach personal organization a lot, and I have obviously the clarity of my life and career, which translates to my leader standard work, which every week becomes a weekly work plan. And then I do my own little huddle every morning and plan out my day. And then I track variances with the percent banks depleted. So like that pulls into there, pulls into every system. I thought I'd ask that question.
Yeah.
So that's a shout out for the principles you teach, and I appreciate that. So let's get going. So the conflict for this podcast today is, people focus on process and tools. This is something you says in our, when we were prepping for this, and they might not focus right away on the culture, and then their lean effort fails. So I'd like to ask Joe, can you kind of introduce this concept you're talking to me about being curious, and let's see where it goes.
Yeah, I just, through the last few years, I've met several folks, several leaders within a GC or CM firm or several trade partners who have had a bad experience with lean. Like it didn't go right for them. It was either seemed too complicated, or there was dissension among the team and not everyone was bought in, and it just never really took off. And I've seen a lot of examples where, some operational leaders within a CM or a GC firm thinks, yeah, this is great. This is something our operations could use. And they, maybe they kind of rush out and they go hire someone to help them learn more about it. And they do a few pull plans and they start kind of diving in and leveraging the tools and the principles. But, oftentimes, that consultant or trainer would leave, and then they hit kind of that first bump in the road, or that first little obstacle that the team needs to manage together, and everyone kind of reverts back to their old behavior, and they just kind of get siloed again, and they become adversarial again. And to me, it always just boils down to, there has to be some intentionality around the people, and there has to be some intentionality around the behavior. And if you're just learning about lean, or you're curious, or maybe if you've been on a journey and it wasn't fruitful and you had a bad experience, my challenge is to start small, and you have to start with the people. get some buy-in, get some small wins up on the board, and then continue to nurture and cultivate those relationships.
So I love that advice. Have you seen now? You've described what that looks like. Have you seen? So you've seen where people will come in, consultants will come in. It's kind of a push environment, right? They're pushing these tools and these processes. Do you have an example? Maybe don't mention. Definitely probably don't mention names, but do you have an example of where it's worked? Um, I have an example on my side that I'd like to share, but can you share an example without names or you know company names of where you've seen this roll out ideally where the culture began first?
Where the culture began first.
Yeah, where they took your steps, they took your advice, and they built that trust, and they got a team, engaged on talking to each other, and they headed in the right direction from the start. Can you share an example?
Yeah, absolutely. I could think of a couple of firms, and it's oftentimes like it can start with just the small seed of someone who's curious and someone who's willing to kind of be that champion on the job site team and to carry that torch. But I have seen the wins of that person um, uh, demonstrating what they're trying to accomplish and just being willing and curious to ask the right questions about, okay, guys, I can see you're not on board, but let's just kind of look at our current state and how things are going. Um, I mean, we're working a lot of overtime. We're doing a whole bunch of rework. We feel like we're constantly struggling to get the right information from the job trailer to the man or woman on the wall putting the work in place. What do you guys feel about just trying a daily huddle? And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We'll go back to our current state. No harm, no foul. Um, and if that influencer and that champion can at least get on to start with a daily huddle, often it normally doesn't take longer than about a week or two to the team to start realizing, wow, there's some value here. Like we all come together for 15 minutes and we talk about the workflow and potential constraints for that day to make sure that the workflow is going to be reliable. And the general contractors asking, the trade partners to speak up and to talk about what they need. And we're having an open dialogue. And I'm starting to get to know some of these guys and gals better and getting to learn more about them. And I'm actually, I've been on the job site for 4 months already, and I didn't know this foreman's name. And now I'm starting to get to know him. And then that seed cultivates, well, let's kind of up the ante and let's make maybe our communication a little better. And now we're starting to communicate visually. We're starting to give our trades the, a Sharpie marker with their color. And as we talk about the work, they're going up and visually marking and circling out on the plan, and the communication's starting to get deeper and more collaborative and more meaningful. And okay, yeah. And then those skeptics on the teams are starting to buy in more and more. And then we go, okay, well, maybe we try our constraint management a little differently. Let's make our constraint management happen at the daily huddle, and let's make it visual. And now the accountability shooting up through the roof because the trade partners, leaders who are accountable for removing the constraints are coming up and they're reporting out, and they know they have to be accountable to their peers. And it's not just the superintendent asking them to do something. And they're starting to see buy-in with that. And now they're like, man, after 3 to 6 months of running that, they're like, hey, this is really great. What's next? Like, that's the question I always feel like, okay, well, what's next? We're doing this, this, this. And essentially they organically grew the curiosity through starting small, seeing the value being demonstrated, and then wanted to grow and to continue that knowledge learning and ultimately transition beautifully in the last planner system.
Yeah, thank you for that. My example is so, and I won't mention company names or any of that, or even region of the country, but I have been asked to help with Takt planning after you had already been there. And this has actually happened, whether it was your book or you personally or a webinar or whatever. There's been a couple of these times. And I see what happens when that curiosity comes, it starts to what's the word I want to use? It starts to spread. It starts to spread amongst the superintendent ranks, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we are doing huddles. We're doing this collaboration. We want to, and so they're bought into the culture. And then a lot of times when somebody asks for Takt, I say, well, here's the beautiful system. Takt planning will help with the supply chains to queue up that weekly work planning phase, to queue up that make ready look ahead phase, and perfectly support that system. and it works and it sticks because the culture that you talked about was already there, and just in the full interest of full transparency there. But I think it's fine. There has to be criticism, but there are folks that will criticize last planner and things like that. And there, one time I took a lean training where they were like, people are going and doing 5S and like cleaning their area, but why start there? You don't even need to know if you need it. I look at it differently. I feel like a lot like you, concepts like huddles, communication, collaboration, trust, 5S'ing, learning the ways, like these are just fundamental everywhere. You just start there and it really leads to those steps. And so I can tell you that there's 2 or 3 instances where you've been to a place you are key on and that culture has begun, and it's very easy to introduce other lean or flow systems because it hasn't gone away.
Yeah.
And so I totally agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Any thoughts there? I don't want to cut you off.
No, that's it. And that's a beautiful way of tying it in, just through starting with those steps and starting with the people and the culture and the behavior. You just open up the mind to be curious and to try so many different things from the point of fixing what bugs them and creating more value and allowing them to have a better experience on that job site.
And one thing that you said that I really am like honing in on right now is the scalability and implementability. I don't even know if that's the word.
Yeah.
Of lean, or like, let's even take your book, right? Your book is very well written. In fact, I'm jealous a lot of times when reading it because it's so well written. And it's so simple, but it doesn't mean that's simple doesn't mean it's not like impactful. Like it's so impactful, but also because it's very simply written.
Mm-hmm.
And people will take your book, and I've seen it, I don't want to say 100, but it tens and tens and tens of times, many times where somebody will read it and get curious because it was presented in a way that they could understand and implement these steps.
Yeah.
And I think what I'm hearing you say is, a lot of us, we come to, and I can do better with this. We come to a job where you do this, and we have 24 steps, right? When we really just needed to start out with the curiosity. Any thoughts on that?
Oh, absolutely. Oftentimes as we're trained, I mean, that's kind of how we're trained in our mind, especially in the construction industry where most of us are technically minded, we're analytical, we're very process driven. It's really easy to focus on, okay, I go do step A, then I go to step B, then I go to step C, then I go to step D, instead of just pausing and looking around the situation, understanding, okay, where's the pain points? What's causing it? What's the root cause? And how can I really impact this situation? How can I be curious about fixing this in the right way and bring the team together to do so? And to me, that's where it always boils down. It boils down to really having a disdain for the current state. Obviously, 99% of the job sites out there, it's frustrating, it's painful. It's just waste chalked at every turn and at every corner. And to me, like the lens of the way I kind of look through everything is just through value creation. Is what I'm doing creating value or not? And if it's not creating value, I don't want to do that. So when I start small and I'm curious and I'm looking for ways to improve how we're operating as a team and how that job site is operating, to me, that's just the first right logical step to take. You don't have to be, focused on the process and all these steps. Just start small, just be curious, and then start seeing, okay, what process tools do I need to bring in, or what steps could I bring in now that I'm really kind of taking in the whole situation and understanding where's the best place to launch from.
And one thing you've said that I picked up on is that you, by the way, cooks, I love that. I actually have a family member in there being treated by that hospital chain, that healthcare provider. So really, it's nice to be able to do something that we believe in. So kudos there. But I bet you've been working with them for a while, and job after job after job, you're getting better and better. I don't know what the time span would be that you would tell me. But I bet you would say, and I don't want to lead the witness on this, but that you're still on that journey. And if somebody says, well, I want to be done with, I want to be into lean in a month, or I want to get the whole company changed in 6 months or whatever. Yeah, I think we need to consider, like I'm talking to you, Joe, and you've been at the same hospital chain and you're getting better and better every time. I bet you it's been 6, 7 years. I don't know. You tell me, but it's a long journey. It's a long game, right?
Yeah. You're absolutely right. And I think where I've been, if I was kind of to boil that up, like I've finally gotten content with not being content. Like I'm always curious, and I'm always hungry, and there's always a better way to do things. I mean, even this journey that we've been on. Lindbeck company I work for is one of the founding members of LCI. We've been on our lean journey for over 15 years. Implementation of like our last planner system through visual boards for like the last 12 years. So I mean, we've been on this journey, relatively speaking, for a long time in regards to as firm goes. And even this year, like some of our team members and myself are still coming up with new standards and new processes for making it better than it was, how it was done last year. Like there's always a spirit of continuous improvement uh, in everyone that really truly has that passion for lean and has a grasp of lean. Like if you view lean as just a box you're going to go check, yeah, we're lean, we did a pull plan, we got the look aheads and the weekly work plan going. It's not a box. It's a mindset. It's a passion. It's a way of life. It's a way of doing things that's really internalized by those folks.
And what I was introduced to your book last year, and that also introduced to This Is Run by Nicholas Moda. He has a co-author, but I always forget the name.
Mhm.
And then also I've been talking to Marco and Yanash with Takting and just getting a lot more influence. And I used to think, it's not wrong, right? It's not wrong to say lean is about continuous improvement and the elimination of waste, but I'm starting to really believe that it's mainly centered around flow. That's for me, right? And the flow of communication, a culture that allows information and uh, common practices, improvement practices to flow, a culture that allows work to flow, a culture that allows, collaboration to flow, integration, and, and I'm starting to just really, build on that concept. And so I don't know where I was heading with that other than to say, I think that, this is what I want to say, is that curiosity on my end has led to what I feel is a greater understanding of where we should be and not focusing so much on the tools and being able to adapt the tools together.
Yeah.
Right. Because, the other thing is I love about your book was that there was some there was some adaptation there. There was some simplification there. There was some cultural integration of the system in the team that you talked about within that book. So one thing I want to say one thing, and I've got a question for you. So the question I'm going to give you is, what has been your best practice for helping to encourage people to get curious? But while you're thinking about that, I want to say when we do our superintendent boot camps, and by the way, one day I'm really stoked about the thought that we can collaborate. I'll go to Texas and we'll do something together, but and I'll learn from y'all. But one of the things when we do these 3-day boot camps, we do 2-day sessions. They're usually pretty long, where they're way outside of their comfort zone. We're learning about Last Planner. We're learning about Takt. We're learning about advanced leadership, presentation skills, personal organization. Then on day 3, we walk them through one mega project and one normal, like 60, 80, $100 million project that is on their lean journey. And what I would say, the biggest feedback that we get when people are done is, I'm reading a book every 2 weeks now, Jason, or hey, my wife and I have started doing date night, or I've started picking up and I've contacted these other people and hey, I saw the book The Lean Builder on the table there in the presentations. I reached out to Joe and Keon and basically something awoke in them where like they feel inspired to go learn as this, ever increasing with this ever increasing desire to just get better. And I want to know, what are some hot spots or like some really bright spots that you've seen of where people make that switch, and how does it happen, or what are some of the things that you've seen that can describe how that happens?
Um, for me, I kind of tie it back to this like elevator pitch that I have when I'm describing current state, because oftentimes I feel like I can generate curiosity, or I could at least generate an open mind enough for me to talk to someone about curiosity and trying something new, and trying some different things to create more value through helping them understand the sheer amount of crap that's in their current state. And oftentimes, when I'm talking to someone, and a lot of times it's a skeptic. It's like it's a superintendent who's been with their firm, for like 30 years. And this guy's looking at me like, why the hell should I do anything that you're talking about? Like, why should I change the way that I run work? Like, I've been with my firm 30 years. I've never missed a CO. I've made a lot of money for my firm. My clients ask me by name. Like, there's nothing wrong with the way that I run work. And oftentimes I try to take the spotlight off of them and their experience, and I try to kind of shift it over to like the current state of our industry, which is like a whole nother podcast discussion. But it's not the same industry that it was 30 years ago, is the short of it. The tools that were in the toolbox of those superintendents back then aren't necessarily the same tools that would make a superintendent successful today, and one that would help them lead a project with the right culture and behaviors and all the kind of the soft, squishy stuff that you really need nowadays. And I tie it back to, aren't you tired of working 80 hours a week? Like, aren't you tired of pulling and dragging these projects barely across the CO finish line to the expense of your family and your health and your quality of life? Like, there's a better way to do things. And I'm not saying lean's like the silver bullet that's going to like fix all that. Like, you're still, the processes and the tools of lean are very simple, but they're somewhat difficult to implement. But if I can tie it back to the current state, and I can tie it back to the pain points and the waste that's in there, and naturally kind of generate the curiosity of, there is a better way to do it. And why don't you just start with this one small thing and see if that gets you some value. And if that gets you some value, then come back and let's talk some more. Let's have a conversation about it. And that's typically where I've seen kind of the entry point for curiosity, or a way to cultivate curiosity, is tie it back to their current state, whatever they may be, and then offer that as a potential launching point.
That's really implementable. And that if we finish the project, I don't remember the term that you used, but at substantial completion, or you got your certificate of occupancy. Yeah, you said CO,
Yeah,
right?
CO,
So you finished the job. What I heard you saying, correct me if I'm wrong, is you finished, but at what expense, right? And the measurement should be, the measurement used to be, was I on time? Did I make a little money? Was the owner happy? I wish it could be like you're saying, did we finish? Did we finish well? Did we take care of the careers of the foreman and the team that was on the group? Did we take care of our families? Was there good quality, safety, and did we have raving fans, right? That's probably the measure, right? And we do that by creating that flow and that pull.
Yeah.
I think that's great. So that curiosity, that's a focus for me, and something I'm going to commit to doing better. There have been times where I come, hey, here's a solution, here's a solution, here's a solution. At the end of the day, I want to create curiosity, but focusing there is something we could all learn from. So what I'd like to do, we've already been 50 minutes. It feels like it was 10. I'd like you to issue a challenge the industry, and I will too. Do you want me to go first or after you?
Why don't you go first? Lead it off.
Okay, good. My challenge is this, from my perspective. I've been really focused lately on Takt planning. Takt is a system that creates 3 types of flow in the master schedule: workflow, trade flow, and logistical flow, which can also then become design and procurement flow. And it allows everyone to see that. And I appreciate the collaboration, the culture of Last Planner, the concepts that are in Joe and Keon's book, and concepts that Felipe talks about in Scrum so much that it really pains me when we get into a weekly work planning meeting and the foreman says, "Well, I could commit to that, but I don't have the materials. I could commit to that, but I don't have that RFI answer back." Or then the culture gets frustrated, right? And my mission is to fix those supply chains as best as they can by putting that into a production rhythm, into a cycle, into a takt time, where we are working with all three types of flow. And my personal opinion is that there are very fantastic ways with takt planning. Because I'm not talking you, Joe, you already know this, but and maybe everybody else does too. But whether you say last planner includes takt or takt includes last planner, last planner says, you know, master schedule, milestones, right? Full planning to the milestones, make ready 3 week, 6 week, make ready look at plans, weekly work planning, daily huddles, percent plan complete, the whole nine. So whether you say here's the last planner framework, what's our master scheduling system that could really cue us up right with the right milestones, or whether you say within takt planning, it leads to having the standard tasks and the new tasks that need to be committed from the foreman within your weekly work plan, or in Scrum, your sprint, right? However you look at it, my challenge to the industry is to really consider what we're doing on that make ready, or not make ready, but the master schedule. And are we getting really good milestones in a system that's created flow? One last thing I'll say is uh, I use your pull planning techniques, and that pull plan will come in with the trades and become a takt sequence, and another one, workflow, trade flow, logistical flow. And then when we get into that 6 week window on that weekly work plan, we know the flow targets, and now we can collaborate just like you teach. So that's one of the challenges that I would give is I would love this industry to consider, are our master scheduling techniques serving these wonderful processes well enough. And so I just tell everyone listening to the podcast, check it out. What would be your challenge? So
That was a great challenge, Jason. I think for me, I'm going to take a page out of Paul Akers' book, and I'm going to challenge everyone to fix something small that bugs them. So go, after listening to this, walk out to your respective job site. I like how you said in your book, let the job speak to you. Just take a moment and think about what's going on your job site, and find the things that are bugging you. Find the areas of waste, and then, in somewhat of a shameless plug, I feel like Keon and I have provided a lot of great resources through our blog. I'm sure Jason will provide in the show notes. We talk about all the things covered in the book and really take a deeper dive and expand out from there. So as an example's sake, if you're tired of feeling like the information is late or it's not getting to the place of work fast enough, and you're still using like a weekly type of subcontractor meeting, maybe consider a daily huddle. Start small, start something new, start to see if you can generate some value for the team. And if you solve the problem with one of those, great, then go right back out there and do it again. Let the job speak to you. Look for other areas of waste or other pinch points, and then think about what are some ways that I could try to tackle this and really help focus on the team. Start building some culture and that collaboration, and make that experience of building that project a much better one than we've experienced in the past.
challenge accepted. Where can people find you?
Best place is through hit me up on LinkedIn, or as well through the website www.theleanbuilder.com, and we have a connection page on the website, as well as our book offering and all of our blog resources to help those in their journey.
Fantastic. And we'll post this on any of the Elevate Construction sites, and we'll have a link to this absolutely in the show notes. But Joe, I want to say thank you. If I don't know if anybody listening picked up on it, but Joe mentioned workers, leaders, and their experience on the project site, and families. And I'm not saying that I That's so, Elevate Construction's mission is to bring respect back to workers through trained leaders to preserve families, right? And if you think about it, you, Hal, Felipe, any of the people that we're talking to on a normal basis that are scaling information, it's about respect. It's about workers. It's about people having a better experience on their job. It's about preserving our families so we're not running people in the ground. And, Joe, thank you for what you're doing. We're going to do it. And honestly, having people like you out there makes me believe that this is going to come to pass. So appreciate you being on. Any closing words for the audience?
Nope. Thanks for having me on. It was a blessing being here, Jason, and look forward to continuing our discussions and partnership in the future, and happy to pull up alongside you.
Okay, on we go. Oh, that's our tradition. You got to say it with me. So 1, 2, 3, on we go.
On we go.
Please join us next time in elevating the entire construction experience for workers, leaders, and companies coast to coast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to share with your construction colleagues and help us spread the word by rating, subscribing, and leaving a review on your preferred podcast listening platform. We really appreciate it. We'll catch you next time on the Elevate Construction Podcast.